Recently took a quick weekend trip up to Washington, D.C., and here were my thoughts. Before we dive in, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Stayed at the Wharf District, which is a massive redevelopment along DC's southwest waterfront. And they have just done a magnificent job turning this into one of the best areas I've ever been to. The District Wharf consists of roughly a dozen linear blocks of 10 to 12 story buildings with varied modern architectural styles. DC is known for its strict 12-story, 164-foot height limit, which you would think would make for a feeling of blandness, but it's actually led to an increase in architectural diversity in my opinion. Some of the architectural features seen here you don't see pretty much elsewhere in America these days. From the tiered floors to the curved walls to the punch holes, each building really has its own unique identity. And it's hard for me to even rank them or pick out one of my favorites. The energy was just unmatched with multiple live bands, just so many people, no cars to worry about, beautiful car-free street here. Great mix of indoor and outdoor dining, and you could tell it's not just touristy, there were plenty of locals here. As far as the tenant mix, it's mostly high-end, but there is a few kind of like fast casual spots with Shake Shack, Gordon Ramsay Fish and Chips, and then of course there's your really high-end stuff like Gordon Ramsay Hell Kitchen, and many other restaurants. There's also a good mix of cafe type places, with some of the actual restaurants having separate little kiosks facing the pathway there, which I thought was really cool. The tenant mix definitely skews toward dining and experiential. There's not much actual retail there, besides like a CVS. There's a couple of little boutiques. There's also a theater, an outdoor and indoor stage, and several piers with swings and just places to sit and gather for free without having to pay anything. Also a splash pad and plenty of activities for the kids. As day turned to night, one of the things that really stood out to me was the level of activity. It just did not drop off, which was really fascinating for me to see. You know, many times the only places you see high level activity at night is places with bars and clubs. And while there are bars here, it's not a club scene. You know, it's just people out having a good time, enjoying great weather, enjoying the restaurants, and even if they're not going to any of the restaurants, just enjoying being around so many people. It's really lively. It makes you feel alive. And matter of fact, I'd go as far as saying DC is one of the 3 cities that I could actually see myself living, raising a family. If you can guess what those 3 are in the comments, first person to guess will win a prize. Drawbacks are that it gets insanely busy because we're so bad at building places this great in America that when you do build them, everybody flocks to them. Curbside management is another thing by the valet area. It can back up into the street. Also, there's no direct access to transit. Only a 10-minute walk to the nearest metro station at Waterfront, but DC having the robust metro that it has, it's really unfortunate that they weren't able to get a infill station. It's due to kind of the location along the water and kind of the rail lines are kind of curving coming out of the tunnels there. And as you can imagine, the hotels here are pretty pricey, and if you ever did want to actually live here, it's extremely expensive because, like I said, we don't build as many great places as we need to. If we built more great places, then demand would cool down a little bit and more people could actually enjoy them. Moving away from the wharf, I took a journey on foot through the rest of the southwest waterfront, and there was really a lot to see. There's been so much redevelopment in this area over the past couple of decades, out by Audi Field and the Nationals Park. Lots of good bike infrastructure, wide sidewalks, street trees, even some floating bus stops. Really cool architectural bridge here, some really nice architectural buildings, but also some really wide roads and some really not great crossings for what is such a highly pedestrianized area. One of the other things I really appreciate about DC is the different view sheds you get of the Capitol. It seems like from all angles, it just all of a sudden appears. The next morning, I set out on what we'll call my monument walk. Had to get out early because it was going to be about 100 degrees that day, and it seemed like many people had the same idea because it was popping for it to be so early on a Saturday morning. Much as I love the wharf, this is the part of DC that really does it for me. Just the easy access to so many trails, seeing the people out enjoying their mornings, and just the easy access to nature that close to the city. I love urban nature. Here in some of the videos, some of the planes can be kind of jarring, and it's really kind of interesting watching them come in because they do a lot of twists and turns as they're coming into Reagan because they have to follow the river. They can't fly over DC, and I guess they can't fly over Northern Virginia either. It always blows me away seeing these monuments in the mall itself. I just feel like it'd be so hard to even build something like this these days. I just feel like we had so much more attention to detail back then. So mention, if you plan on going to any of the museums, even though they're free, you need to book your tickets weeks or months in advance because I wasn't able to get tickets to the African American Museum. Really enjoyed zigzagging through downtown DC proper on my way over to the Capitol building. Just seeing all the buildings being the same height, but all of them looking so different just blows me away. Also, there wasn't a parking pedestal or surface lot in sight. Another thing that stood out to me was this really unique fire station with a hotel above it. Such great land use. I guess this is what happens when you can only build to 12 stories. Even as much as I think the height limit is weird, I think it's really helped out DC. Me being the urban trail lover that I am, I'm really bummed that I didn't make it over to the Metropolitan Branch Trail, which I hear has some Beltline like features. Spot I didn't make it to on foot or bike, it was the Rock Creek Trail, which is surprisingly hilly and has some really cool features. Really can't wait to get back and explore that. Another interesting thing about DC is all the edge cities such as Alexandria, National Harbor, Pentagon City, Arlington, Tyson's Corner, Bethesda, and Silver Spring. All of these bring a unique dynamic to DC, some of them having a way more impressive skyline than DC itself, and all of which being very impressive secondary employment hubs. Nearly all of them are directly connected to Metro, which is DC's transit system, and Maryland DOT is actually constructing the Purple Line, which will kind of connect some of the outer lines, which will be really cool when it's done. I didn't get a chance to explore any of these on foot this time, but I did drive through most of them. And let me tell you, driving in DC, it's a whole nother ball game. I know they say driving in Atlanta is bad, but man, it was almost on New York and Boston level. And I don't really use GPS, and I don't really ever get lost, but I got mixed up a couple of times trying to follow all those ramps. Did, however, have a chance to get out and explore Baltimore a little bit on foot, which let me tell you, actually wasn't bad. The downtown Inner Harbor area is actually very nice, and if you listen to people on social media or listen to the news, you would think absolutely all of Baltimore is just this absolute crap hole, which is just couldn't be further from the truth. And there's also some really nice neighborhoods around downtown too. All of it isn't great, as every city, it has its parts, and did, explore some of that area too. But all in all, I'm really impressed and hope to get back there and spend a little bit more time sometime in the future. Took a couple of detours on the way out by Annapolis, Maryland, which was another place that I can't wait to get to, and Richmond, Virginia, which has a great core. I need to go spend a little weekend there as well. I'm more impressed with DC every time I visit. I hope to visit more in the future. Always, thank you all for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and come back next time as we have many more videos coming.